Only one must not oppose them, but even submit and receive all their results with reverence, at the same time praising and glorifying the wonderful and providential works of our Lord Creator. I am not glad because of the misadventure, but because an unforeseen event issuing from above has occurred, owing to which we shall be able to listen once more to the tales of my dear grandfather. Is it my fault that the circumstances are by chance most desirable and happy for me? No, dear Ahun, not only should you not rebuke me, but you should join me in expressing gratitude to the source of all beneficent results that arise. All this time Beelzebub listened attentively and with a smile to the chatter of his favorite, and when he had finished said, "You are right, dear Hassein, and for being right, I will tell you, even before the captain's arrival, anything you like." Upon hearing this, the boy at once ran and sat at the feet of Beelzebub, and after thinking a little said, "My dear grandfather, you have told me so much about the solar system where you spent so many years, that now perhaps I could continue just by logic alone to describe the details of the nature of that peculiar corner of our universe. But I'm curious to know whether there dwell three-brained beings on the planets of that solar system, and whether higher being bodies are coded in them. Please tell me now about just this, dear grandfather," concluded Hassein, looking affectionately up at Beelzebub. "Yes," replied Beelzebub, "on almost all the planets of that solar system also three-brained beings dwell. And in almost all of them, higher being bodies can be coded. Higher being bodies, or as they are called on some planets of that solar system, souls, arise in the three-brained beings breeding on all the planets, except those before reaching which the emanations of our most holy Son Absolute, owing to repeated deflections, gradually lose the fullness of their strength, and eventually cease entirely to contain the vivific power for coding higher being bodies. Certainly, my boy, on each separate planet of that solar system also, the planetary bodies of the three-brained beings are coded and take an exterior form in conformity with the nature of the given planet, and are adapted in their details to the surrounding nature. For instance, on that planet on which it was ordained that all we exiles should exist, namely the planet Mars, the three-brained beings are coded with planetary bodies having the form, how shall I tell you, a form like a karuna. That is to say, they have a long, broad trunk, amply provided with fat, and heads with enormous protruding and shining eyes. On the back of this enormous planetary body of theirs are two large wings, and on the underside, two comparatively small feet with very strong claws. Almost the whole strength of this enormous planetary body is adapted by nature to generate energy for their eyes and for their wings. As a result, the three-brained beings breeding on that planet can see freely everywhere, whatever the Kaldezachti, and they can also move, not only over the planet itself, but also in its atmosphere, and some of them occasionally even manage to travel beyond the limits of its atmosphere. The three-brained beings breeding on another planet, a little below the planet Mars, owing to the intense cold there, are covered with thick, soft wool. The external form of these three-centered beings is like that of a tusuk. That is, it resembles a kind of double sphere, the upper sphere serving to contain the principal organs of the whole planetary body, and the other, the lower sphere, the organs for the transformation of the first and second being foods. There are 3 apertures in the upper sphere, opening outwards. 2 serve for sight, and the 3rd for hearing. The other, the lower sphere, has only 2 apertures, one in front, for taking in the first and second being foods, and the other at the back for the elimination from the organism of residues. To the lower sphere are also attached 2 very strong sinewy feet, and on each of these is a growth that serves the purpose of fingers with us. There is still another planet, a quite small one, bearing the name Moon in that solar system, my dear boy. During its motion, this peculiar little planet often approached very near to our planet Mars, and sometimes during whole kilprenos, I took great pleasure in observing through my tescuano in my observatory the process of existence of the 3-brained beings upon it. Though the beings of this planet have very frail planetary bodies, they have on the other hand a very strong spirit, owing to which they all possess an extraordinary perseverance and capacity for work. In exterior form, they resemble what are called large ants, and like these, they are always bustling about, working both on and within their planet. The results of their ceaseless activity are now already plainly visible. I once happened to notice that during 2 of our years, they tunneled, so to say, the whole of their planet. They were compelled to undertake this task on account of the abnormal local climactic conditions, which are due to the fact that this planet arose unexpectedly, and the regulation of its climactic harmony was therefore not prearranged by the higher powers. The climate of this planet is mad, and in its variability it could give points to the most highly strung hysterical women existing on another of the planets of that same solar system, of which I shall also tell you. Sometimes there are such frosts on this moon that everything is frozen through and through, and it becomes impossible for beings to breathe in the open atmosphere. And then suddenly it becomes so hot there that an egg can be cooked in its atmosphere in a jiffy. For only 2 short periods on that peculiar little planet, namely before and after its complete revolution about its neighbor, another planet nearby, the weather is so glorious that for several rotations the whole planet is in blossom, and yields the various products for their first being food greatly in excess of their general need during their existence in that peculiar intraplanetary kingdom, which they have arranged and where they are protected from all the vagaries of this mad climate inharmoniously changing the state of the atmosphere. Nearest to that small planet is another, a larger planet, which also occasionally approaches quite close to the planet Mars and is called Earth. The said moon is just a part of this Earth, and the latter must now constantly maintain the moon's existence. On the just mentioned planet Earth, also, 3-brained beings are formed, and they also contain all the data for coding higher being bodies in themselves. But in strength of spirit, they do not begin to compare with the beings breeding on the little planet aforementioned. The external codings of the 3-brained beings